you're a great person to ask about this, actually, because you are one of the few sports aficionados / junkies. One of the few people I know that's totally addicted to sports and in no way addicted to sports gambling. So congratulations. Congratulations to you.
Yes. Thank you.
But on a scale of 1 to 10, are you 1 being not surprised at all, 10 being completely aghast and shocked at the news of the day in the NBA with Chauncey Billups and Terry Rozier being suspended indefinitely for being investigated for gambling and being arrested by the FBI?
The Terry Rozier does not surprise. It's a 2. The Chauncey Billups is a 9.5.
Yeah, it's stunning.
I mean, that's not even basketball stuff.
Right.
Like, that's underground poker with the mafia.
Right.
That I didn't know that happened. I thought that's like some 1930s like Chicago stuff.
Right.
You know what I mean?
It's like a Jack Nicholson movie.
Yeah. I thought
this
is like another, like a new Tarantino film. I didn't know this is happening in real life. I don't know, like, what does the mob do now? Like, are they still doing like hey, bring in the cement trucks, we gotta hide the roommate? Like, is that happening?
We are doing the Big Sky Breakdown here from the ESPN Missoula studio, which
Great
is
start.
actually the Grizzly disposal studio. And there's a joke there, but we will just let it go. So what does the mob do? This is the eternal question. I just had to touch on it with you because, I think we all understand there is a lot of perils to the sports gambling infiltration that's happened. We certainly benefit from it at a variety of our channels at ESPN and at Skyline. And, these people have money to advertise. And, we always tell people to be prudent and stuff, but it's just a slippery slope. And I hope that it doesn't, I hope that this is sort of like a sounding of the alarm that we realize that we are already on the slippery slope and it doesn't go worse or get any more outrageous or controversial.
Yeah. I mean, to me, there's a pretty significant difference between the gambling that happens on a professional sports level and the stuff that happens at the collegiate sports level, insofar as beyond just being paid. And I know, obviously, like in college football, especially, I mean, these kids are now being paid too, but the fans are already kind of nuts, and the way that fans have acted and interacted, starting like pre-gambling legalization, but post-social media opening up, and the things that would be said and directly to players on their DMs and stuff, just horrific stuff and threats and things like that. It's just so insane. And that that people think that this is like okay and that they're just going to launch this thing off and whatever. But then you mix in like, oh, you lost me $5,000, and now you throw that on there, and I just think it is dangerous, quite honestly. It's a very small, and yet it doesn't matter that it's small. It only takes one subset of lunacy to create something that's really, really bad. So, and the fact that these college kids are exposed to that,
right?
It is sad to me, and it's not surprising, and it's part of it's just kind of the world now. But yeah, I don't know. There's my rant.
Is it, will you marry me in your future, or maybe you do it all over again? Hi, I'm Brian Toon with Jewelry Design Center, inviting you to come see the largest selection of Will You Marry Me in the state of Montana. The brightest diamonds of every shape and size, unique settings built to last, and skilled jewelers on site offering free sizing and maintenance for life, because that's how long we want to be your jeweler. Jewelry Design Center in Missoula, on Brooks, across from the Montana Club.
Tootell, Big Sky Breakdown. SkylineSportsMT.com. Thanks to all of our great supporters, including the Jewelry Design Center. Jewelry Design Center can make anything and everything you can possibly dream, everything you can possibly imagine. They have a world-class selection of diamonds, but they also can custom design any sort of jewelry for you. Jewelry Design Center, located across from the Montana Club on Brooks. Your jeweler for life. All right, I actually made an outline for us this week. So
We're going
to go back and forth. Grizzcats, Grizzcats, Grizzcats. So this is just sort of brief conversations about a whole bunch of different subjects.
Yep.
Keali'i Ah Yat is the Big Sky Conference Offensive Player of the Week this week for the second time this season already. He is currently leading the Big Sky Conference and ranks 7th nationally in passing yards. He's one of the leading touchdown throwers in the country, and he's likely going to be at least on the watch list for the Walter Payton Award by the time that they update that thing again. Keali'i Ah Yat is the best Griz quarterback since who?
Dalton Sneed.
Yeah.
And I think that in time he'll probably be better than Dalton. Well, yeah, I think there's a chance. I thought Dalton Sneed was a really good quarterback.
Dalton Sneed is good. I think Ah Yat's better already.
You think? Yeah, and I think he might be. Do you think there's somebody since Sneed that's better than that?
I do not. I think that the Griz have had.
So you think he's even better than Sneed, and so you would go back even further in history.
I think that Keali'i Ah Yat is the best quarterback the Griz have had since Jordan Johnson.
Here's one for you. How about Grace Jensen?
Man, Grace Jensen is probably like the white buffalo of more Griz football fans than any other quarterback that's ever existed.
Yeah.
Because you watched him and you're like, man, he's pretty good. He's a freshman. What is he going to do? And then, man, talk about – see, this is the part where I wonder – first of all, it's the part that makes me think that when quarterbacks find their fit in the Big Sky, you should just stay. Jensen's not a good example of that because he was with a coach and the coach got forced out and he needed to go elsewhere.
Grace Jensen wasn't trying to leave.
That right. No, totally.
He was shown the door.
Totally.
Yeah.
But like then he ended up at a variety of different places.
Yeah, Texas State.
He never really played. But remember RJ Martinez, that sweet quarterback that Northern Arizona had that gave everybody in the league just fits? That guy transferred to Baylor, never played. Then he transferred to North Texas, never played. Now he's at West Texas A&M Kingsville. And, of course, he's just annihilating Division II right now, throwing for like 375 yards a game. But, like, what a tragic case. He could have just been a really good Big Sky quarterback. He was the Big Sky Freshman of the Year. But then you go on down the list, like Gage Gruber from Eastern Washington, who transferred to Washington State, never played. Kevin Thompson, our Sac State correspondent that one year when they played.
Yeah, KT.
He was a grad student. He was a grad student at Sac State, and their sports information director just said, "Hey, here's his number. He's a 26-year-old guy." Like
Case Cookus.
Yeah. Like these guys transferred and they never did anything. Kevin Thompson went to Washington, never did anything. After that, I mean, go to Prukop at Oregon, he got benched. The examples are just prevalent, and Grace Jensen certainly. A different scenario and the reason why he transferred.
Well, Keali'i Ah Yat is he's an excellent and ascending quarterback.
Yes,
and I think that if you are a Griz fan, you have to really be happy about what he's doing and how he's playing right now, and over the moon about the potential to have. I mean. How long has it been since the University of Montana had a quarterback anchoring the offense? You know what I mean?
Basically since Jordan Johnson,
right?
Yeah.
Well, yeah. And so it's just I think that potential is there. There's a long way to go, and a lot of things can happen between now and 2 years from now or whatever it might be. But
yes,
I mean, you know me. I've been. There's not one day that I haven't been on Ah Yat as the guy who should be out there, and I think we're seeing that more and more. Week by week.
The last, because you made an implication there too, like when's the last time the Griz have anchored an offense to a quarterback?
Yeah.
And the answer is Jordan Johnson, but he did not play for Bobby Houck. So the answer in terms of the last time the Griz anchored the offense to a quarterback when Bobby Houck was the head coach is 2004.
I mean, Dalton Sneed would probably be the closest one where he's like 2-year starter, transferred in with Bobby or four. Coach out from Wild West,
even those teams were anchored by the receivers.
For sure.
Torre and Samuel Kim were so good. And
I guess when I say anchored, I mean just where you just were an upperclassman starting captain, and there was just that's it. There's no question about who the dude is at the position and a leader on the team, And that hasn't happened very often.
It's actually funny because it actually was like the trend mostly in Houck 1.0 because they had Craig Oakes, who was great for 2 years, led him to the national championship game his second year. And then they had Cole Berquist, who was young, and they brought in Josh Swagger to basically take his spot. So Swagger was kind of a one-and-done guy. But then Berquist was the guy for a couple of years, and he played pro football. And then Andrew Sell, he's not necessarily a one-and-done. He was in the program the whole time. He just took over after waiting his turn, but he was great, led the Griz to the national championship in 2009. So I don't know, the ebbs and flows of the quarterbacks have been interesting at the University of Montana, but they definitely have a really good one right now. Okay, Bobcats.
Okay.
How would you describe why Brent Vigen literally never loses games in which he's not supposed to lose? In other words, you look at the 10 losses Montana State's had under Brent Vigen. They're to either FBSs like Wyoming and Oregon, or they're to North Dakota State times 5, South Dakota State times 2, or in Missoula. Mm-hmm. Other than that, Vigen is undefeated in every other possible scenario of game that you could roll out there, except for the one outliers when they lost at Idaho in 23. That's still a very good Idaho team as a playoff team, but they were favored to win that game, and they were, the number 2 team in the country at that exact moment. But how would you describe it? Why do you think it is that he is so good in these sort of, supposed to win scenarios?
Well, I would say 80% of the games that Montana State is supposed to win, they're literally unlosable.
And that's
for Montana State.
That's a Big Sky thing.
Do you know it? Well, I'm just saying, like and that's a two-way street. There's some really bad teams, and Montana State is absolutely that good, and I'm talking about since Coach Vigen took over, right?
Sure.
You're just not losing to the bottom third of the Big Sky Conference. It's not possible.
Right.
So that's a nice way to win. Okay.
Totally.
But the bigger point, I think, what you're trying to say is like, I mean, he comes off as and appears to be, and program level, you can see the steady consistency of the head man.
Yes.
And that is translating. And I would also say it's the alignment of the institution.
Sure. Totally. That's a good point.
And so you get all of that stuff in there. And, look at Eastern Washington, right? When Aaron Best took over, Mary McCullion was the president of the university. Mary McCullion is one of the smartest people and most accomplished academics you could ever have. Doesn't know what a down is.
Right.
Right? I mean, I have this conversation with her. Has no idea what is going on in sports in general. It's just not her world. And she can be a great university president. But you bring her in with Aaron Best, who I would not say is the model of consistency.
Indeed.
Or steadiness. And it doesn't make sense in some level, like, because you have a incredibly academic minded president, like because she's off reading history textbooks, why should that make you unable to stop somebody on 4th down? Like there's no logical connection there,
sure.
Right? But there is in any organization an oversight and empowerment chain that happens that translates to whatever the product is.
Yes.
And I think that, a lot of when Coach Best took over, a lot of people were like, well, he's not doing the job that his predecessors have done, and sure. I think that's true. He's also not working in the same environment that his predecessors worked in
Indeed.
To do it. And so I do think that, when you go from Jeff Choate, the builder, to Brent Vigen, the sustainer,
yes,
inside the scope of Leon Costello there the whole time, and up until this last year, Haddad Cruzado also there the whole time and championing the whole thing, I think you then don't lose games you're not supposed to lose. Like, I just think that's kind of the byproduct of that.
No doubt. And there is a stratification that exists it's a good point that you're making. On the flip side, though, like Idaho is not at the level that they have never been since they came back to the Big Sky, the level that Montana State has been at the last couple of years. That said, Idaho is sort of one of the who's in the world of who's and who's not.
Yeah.
And Idaho's lost to Northern Colorado and Eastern Washington in back-to-back weeks.
Right.
So when you don't have the steady, and I'm not saying Thomas Ford is not a steady coach, but I'm just saying like there is an element there where like you still have to take care of business, right?
You have to. And I mean, we've seen it at the University of Montana. I mean, under Bob Stitt, Montana losing quote unquote unlosable games.
That's right.
And they went and lost those games.
And Bobby Houck has had a couple.
And he's had a couple as well. And I guess the point is and to your point as well taken, is outside of the Idaho game.
Right.
Show me a team. I mean, Alabama lost week 1 to Florida State. Florida State's now lost 3 in a row, and their coach is about to get fired. They're not a very good football team. And Alabama's like a top 5 team in the nation now.
Right.
But they weren't ready to go week 1. They just flat out weren't ready to go week 1. Right? That happens.
Right.
Doesn't seem to happen in Montana State.
That's right.
And that is a that's about as high a compliment I think that you could give a coach, is to say that there's never a down week where you just don't have it.
It's been so interesting to see the way it's influenced the way that their fan base thinks about things, because even with all of the highs that Mike Kramer helped produce at Montana State and all the highs that Rob Ashe helped produce at Montana State, there was always these narratives that the Bobcat fans would have that was hard to argue against. Like they would always tell you, well, you know, we got a really good football team, but what happens when we go to Northern Arizona? Mm-hmm. We don't win in Northern Arizona. Mm-hmm. And that's true. They only won 4 times in 30-something years at Northern Arizona. Yeah. But guess what? Now they've won 2 in a row at Northern Arizona. That Brent Vigen's the head coach. They used to say the same thing. What happens when we have to go to Ogden? We never win in Ogden. What's Brent Vigen do? He goes down to Ogden. Every time he goes down there and they pound him. Like the last time they were down there, it was 40-0. So
yeah. Well, and another part of it, too, I think, is how they've chosen to play football.
Sure. Oh, yeah. That's right.
You know, look at the Cincinnati Bengals. They have the best wide receiver tandem in the NFL, mm-hmm. and probably the best single wide receiver on earth on their team. And they throw the ball all over the place, and you know what they do? And they're great at it. They're probably the best there is at it. They lose a bunch of games. Now, I know that, you know, Joe Burrow's out and all that, but you get what I'm saying. Even with Joe Burrow they didn't make the playoffs.
Joe Burrow was the leading passer in the league last year and had the best statistical season of his career. They didn't make the playoffs.
The point is like you can be a lead at some of the skill positions and better than everybody else at those things, and that doesn't always translate to wins. But when your offensive line is always bigger and stronger and better than the defensive line, that's an unlosable situation for a football team. You know what I mean? Like you can make a mistake in any given instance, but you're just going to win like when you can just move people around. And Montana State has chosen and successfully, I mean, everybody wants to do it, but they have executed that. And, you know, that goes a long way to raising the floor.
Cash One Pawn, Missoula's #1 pawn shop.
Well, you want money? We got money. You need money? We got money. We're cash.
Do yourself a favor and make Cash One Pawn part of your online shopping habits. Cash One Pawn has an awesome online inventory, everything from firearms to power tools to speaker equipment to jewelry. Visit Cash One Pawn today.
Cash One Pawn.
8720 Roller Coaster Road, CashOnePawn.com.
Presented in part by Aspen Sound. The chilly weather is here. I had to go out and start my car before I went to work today. I have a new car, but I'm going to go down and get myself an automatic car starter at Aspen Sound. Aspen Sound located on Broadway in Missoula. If you want to get an automatic car starter, be sure to get on the books because they do get busy right before the cold snap hits with these installations. So go check them out there on Broadway or visit them online. Appreciate Aspen South, their continued support of the Big Sky Breakdown. Great parlay, Gus, talking about the consistent prowess of the Montana State offensive line. Riddle me this. Montana is in the top 3 in basically every major statistical category in the Big Sky Conference. Passing yards per game, rushing yards per game. They're leading the league in scoring per game, one of the top scoring offenses in the country. They have all these different skill players that have won Big Sky Conference Player of the Week. Yet when you watch them, I think that the defining and almost inescapable weakness of the team is on the offensive line. Mm-hmm. How does that happen? Riddle me this. How are the Grizzlies getting by even with maybe an average group up front on offense?
Well, partly because they are better than everybody else everywhere else.
Sure.
So, you can have a bad or mediocre, say, offensive line and overcome that
totally
through the other things that you do exceptionally well, and I think you're seeing that, right?
Well, and the other thing that Sammy and Kim and I were talking about in the press box is that so much of this is like the lens that you look at it through. Like Montana, like when I say they have an average or mediocre offensive line, what I'm saying is they don't have even close to as good of an offensive line as the great offensive lines that we've seen at the teams that have been national contenders, right? Like they have a better offensive line than most of the Big Sky Conference, and certainly almost all of the FCS. They probably have a top 15, even top 12 offensive line in the country, but that's not a top 3 offensive line. And that's the gap that the national championship contenders have had against everybody else over the last, 15 years.
It's the absolute right thing to say and to recognize. It's not that they're bad, just period.
Right.
They're not. They're good.
Right. Like Sacred Heart would probably love to have Montana's offensive line, right?
They're not Griz standard.
Right.
And it hasn't been for quite a while.
Or the national standard.
Or the national standard.
Right?
That's right. And if you're the number 4 team in the nation,
yes,
they don't have the number 4 offensive line in the nation.
Right.
And they don't have and the other thing too is, you can be in third place and still lose the race by 10 minutes to second place. You know what I mean?
Right.
Whatever. So it's I don't know where the offensive line ranks. Okay, I don't know. And also, I mean, the rotation of guys and rotating centers and stuff, like, are they getting the most out of who they do have in the way that they've chosen to deploy these guys? And I think they're changing some of that now at this point, and maybe they've got a 5 that they are going to kind of stick with. But all that aside, wherever Montana ranks, the real question is, what's the gap between Montana and Montana State in the offensive line?
Right.
And I think the answer is a lot, like a big gap.
Yes.
And even if they're the second best offensive line in the conference.
Right.
So I guess that's the concerning thing, I think, if you're a Grizzly fan.
That's the way I would break it down, is that this is the easiest way to describe this. I think that Liam Brown, the starting left guard for Montana, would start at Montana State. I don't think any of the rest of the Grizz guys would. Mm-hmm. But then there's the next jump. I haven't watched NDSU as closely this year. They have been just blowing teams out. I know they have no seniors on their offensive line, so that bodes really well for the future. I can't say I know that those 4 that I think would start for the Cats over the Grizz guys would start or not start at North Dakota State this year. Mm-hmm. But compared to other NDSU offensive lines, it's not even close. Like the Cats are also falling short too, right? But then I wonder if we have a too high of a standard here, because North Dakota State has better offensive line tradition over the last 15 years than everybody.
Than
like everybody.
I mean, they're
like,
top 15 FCS offensive lines.
Brooks looked this up the other day. They got 6 guys right now that are
league.
starting in the league. They have like 10 that are in the league.
Yeah.
Like they had a first-round draft pick last year that starts for the Seattle Seahawks as a rookie. Mm-hmm. Montana State, Idaho, Eastern Washington, South Dakota State, nobody else has that.
Yeah.
Nobody.
Yeah.
I mean, freaking Iowa doesn't even have that.
Yeah.
So then I wonder if saying, okay, well, you're not as good as North Dakota State on the offensive line, that might just be unfair, because, again, like nobody would.
Yeah.
Nobody has been. North Dakota State could join the Big Ten and be in the middle of the road in the offensive line conversation.
Well, 9-year-olds carrying hamstrung cows in the winter in North Dakota turn into great offensive linemen 10 years hence. That's just the way it is.
The Big Sky Breakdown. You're on SkySportsMT.com, probably presented in part by Ryan Miller and Coburn. Ryan Miller and Coburn, your Montana attorneys. Visit rmcattorneys.com. If you have any criminal defense, personal injury, medical malpractice, DUI, any sort of needs in that realm of law, rmcattorneys.com. All right, back to the Cats. This is funny. I make myself laugh. Have we reached this? I've been dwelling on the singularity because I've been listening to way too many podcasts about AI. So I'm not actually talking about a real singularity here, but have we reached the theoretical singularity of offenses now that Montana State rushed for 400 yards against Idaho State, but Justin Lamson also threw 4 touchdowns. In other words, there's been this whole thing, what happened to the Bobcat run game, and then Adam Jones went nuts and he rushed for 175, and the Cats rushed for almost 400 against Idaho State. I guess the real question is, how tough does this make Montana State to stop if they can sustain this sort of balanced production?
Well, if they can sustain 400 yards on the ground and 4 touchdowns through the air, they will win the national championship by 100.
Yeah,
so
that's right.
I don't expect that. But also, they won't be playing the Idaho State defense in the Natty or anywhere else along the line.
So what do you make of that? What do you make of that, though? Riddle me this. How did Idaho State bottle up Eli Gilman in the Griz run game and not Montana State?
Yeah.
Is it as simple as what we were just talking about, the offensive line prowess?
It is not as simple as that, but it is certainly critical to – I mean, that's a huge part in it. But I also just think, and we talked about this a little bit last week, but there's 2 different game plans for the Idaho State defense. I mean, that was what they wanted to do.
Yes. And they implemented a bunch of zone read stuff with Justin Lamson where he would keep it and run up the middle. That was certainly a weakness that they had seen. So the Griz are not doing that at all in the zone read game with Keali'i Ah Yat. That's not a criticism. I think that's smart because they don't want Ah Yat to get hurt, and I think that's where you need to be with him as a sophomore.
I realize it's the same opponent and it's back-to-back weeks, so it's easy to do, but I'm just not going to draw any comparisons between Montana and Montana State based on the way that they played, good or bad, against Idaho State.
No doubt.
So I'm just that's where I'm at. That said, Montana State's sort of reemergence, I guess, of the run game that we have seen over the past 5-6 years, coupled with no question the best passing offense that Montana State has had over the course of that time, is a scary proposition for anybody that wants to play him. It just is. Lamson is the best thrower of the football the Montana State has had since they got good again, going back to, say, year 2 or 3 under Coach Choate.
Yeah.
And has the best, I would say the best breadth of pass catchers. Like the number of dudes that they can go to and rely on and do throw it to and who are playmakers.
Yep.
There's more of those. Like is 1 or 2 guys in the past, and part of that was probably on the quarterback too.
Yep.
But now it's 4 or 5 different guys.
They got a lot of guys
go to anywhere.
They got a lot of guys that are cooking right now.
That is a problem for any defense that wants to sit up there and deal with it. And kind of pick your poison and decide how you want to go about it. But it's the challenge is real. As real as it's ever been, it seems to me.
I just asked Cal Poly head coach Paul Wolf this before Ryan and I sat down, and he just shook his head and laughed. And I said, where do you start when the Bobcats run the ball like you saw them running against Idaho State, and then they also have thrown it like they've had the first 7 games? And he just said, I don't know.
Yeah.
He's like, I don't know. He's like that. You said, he said exactly how you said it. Where do you start? I don't know where you start because you're going to say, okay, we're going to take away the run. Their best playmakers honestly, are the guys on the perimeter.
Where defenses have to start is with themselves.
Sure, right.
Like in this instance, like I think Belichick, popularized, we're going to take away the thing you do best. Well, when you have 11 NFL players on your team, you can do that, right? But when you are an FBS football team, there's going to be areas of strength and areas of not as good in all aspects of what you do.
Yes.
And I think what you need to do is really have a great self-awareness of these are the things where we think we can win defensively and do everything you can to press in. I mean, you can't decide what the play calls are going to be on the offensive side. They got that advantage, right? But you got to try and find a way to get the guys and the things that you do well to bear out against the team. And you just got to understand that, it's going to be all day, and you're just going to have to figure it out. It's going to be, a matter of attrition and trying to not give up explosives, I think, right? Like, let's make this a 10-play drive, not a 3-play drive, and try and do kind of some of that stuff. But I don't envy any head coach or DC that's going up against really either of these teams, but Montana State, especially coming out of the Idaho State game, was very, very impressive.
Big Set Breakdown, probably presented by Cash One Pawn, the premier pawn shop in Western Montana. Shop online, Cash One Pawn. That's cash the number 1 pawn.com. So the Griz currently, if you're talking about leaning into their strengths, this is the other thing that I think it melts our brains, because there's been this omnipresent notion over the last 15 years that to beat North Dakota State, you have to be North Dakota State. And we've seen South Dakota State become North Dakota State light, and then actually turn the corner by adding some other stuff, like a lights-out quarterback with some great receivers on the outside and some superior speed defensively. And so they're the one team that really did sort of match NDSU on the fronts and in the run game, and then ascend them because of this stellar play at quarterback. We've also seen Montana State become North Dakota State light and be stuck as North Dakota State light basically they've lost in the playoffs 5 times in the last 6 years to NDSU, specifically to the Bison. So, with the same formula, bruising run game, great up front, all these things. The Griz don't really have any sort of potential to be North Dakota State anything because of their fronts. They're totally different. How far can this Griz team go if they continue to lean into their strengths? Because I do think that right now the narrative around the fan base is, on one hand, so great to be 7-0. What an awesome start. These guys are so fun to watch on offense. Ah Yat is cooking. On the other hand, man, the defense isn't even close to as good as it has been in years past. We can't really lean into it, and we're getting pushed around up front. Can the Griz, though, overcome these weaknesses with these strengths if they continue to play to said strengths?
They can't overcome those weaknesses if those weaknesses are weaknesses when they're playing in the postseason.
Right.
They can,
and especially depending on who they're playing and where they're playing.
For sure. Well, yeah. Much more who they're playing.
Yes.
But they can. We talked about this before. This is a team with 28 transfers and essentially an entirely new group on defense.
Right.
Okay? They are getting better. And let's put it like this. I was really impressed, and then I was really, really unimpressed with the Griz defense against Sacred Heart.
Sure.
And those are the things, like, you gave up a 16-play, 10-minute, 88-yard touchdown drive in the fourth quarter.
Right.
Or that ended it started in the third quarter, ended in the fourth quarter.
Right.
And Sacred Heart.
And you gave up
to make it a one-score game.
And you gave up multiple fourth down conversions in the scope of this drive.
You have to get off the field. You have to figure it out. Against Sacred Heart, you have to do that.
You have to.
So the fact that wasn't, and by the way, the other 2 touchdowns were both full field drive. I think it was a 7 and a 10-play drive. The other 2 touchdowns. I mean, this isn't like, one dude got loose and it was a busted coverage.
Sure,
this is a team methodically moving the football all the way down the football field and scoring touchdowns on your defense in the middle of a football game that's still competitive in a 1-score game. That is a problem.
It is.
Also, I saw the Griz defense bow up and get multiple 3-and-outs in this game and do what they need to do. And you go back, to the who were they playing? Was it Cal Poly that they were down 9 and they get the pick 6.
Yep.
So they have a defensive score and they held Cal Poly to 9 points. I mean, that's pretty dang good.
That's pretty good. Forced 4 turnovers, got a couple sacks.
So we've seen a great whole game defensive performance.
Yeah.
We've seen a really bad
middle 2 quarters,
quarter and a half of defense against an inferior opponent.
Yep.
And you go, okay, well, what do we got? And what we got is a team that's learning, I think, a team that's still trying to figure it out. And the question is, are they going to have the screws tightened in 2 to 3 weeks from now? Because the time is running short. We're past the halfway point now, right? You got to this is the time where you have to dial in and be who you're going to be, And so that's the question. But, yeah, if these problems are still problems when it comes to play Montana State last game of the year, and then, whoever you might play, let's say, in the second round of the playoffs.
Yeah.
It's going to be another disappointing end of the year, seems to me, to Montana, for Montana. But I think that they are fixable.
Yes, totally.
Life can change in an instant. If you've been hurt in an accident, suffered from medical negligence, or are facing criminal charges, you don't have to face it alone. At Ryan Miller & Coburn, we're here to listen and fight for you. We're your neighbors, traveling across Montana to stand by your side as your link to justice. Real people, real help, right here in Montana. Ryan Miller and Coburn, your Montana attorneys.
Shine Beer Sanctuary is leading the charge when it comes to promoting beer culture in Montana. Located at the corner of Church and Main and downtown Bozeman, the locally owned and operated tap house and bottle shop has the best beer selection in the Treasure State. The bar has 32 rotating beers on tap with everything from Duvel to local ciders, gluten-free beers, and non-alcoholic options. The bottle shop has more than 400 beer offerings from all over the world, and Shine offers Cicerone-trained beer guides. Come enjoy beer heaven at Shine Beer Sanctuary in Bozeman.
Incremental build is going to be essential too, and I also think that I think Montana has a hell of a chance to win every single game that they play that's played in Missoula, and the good news for them is the only ones that aren't played in Missoula the next couple of weeks. Friday's a huge one against Sacramento State, no question. The other ones are absolutely winnable. I mean, games where you'll be multiple score favorites. And then if you take care of business against the rival, then you're going to not have to leave your home confines. And, they can just parlay all that into, consistent improvements, but also huge advantages. Put a pin in that, though, when it comes to the defensive performance, because I want to come back to that. But one more question on Montana State, and then we'll come back to this Griz Sac State matchup. But Adam Jones looked like he's back to full health. He was great last week, very explosive in the run game for Montana State. Julius Davis has found his footing again, sort of knocked off the rust. He was great 2 years ago, second team all-conference, but then last year got hurt early, came back late, got hurt again. So he certainly was going through it both mentally and physically because of those injuries. But they got those two guys back at the height of their powers, and their offensive line has really come together the last 2 weeks, and I think that they're rolling offensively pretty darn good now across the board, not one side or the other, run game and pass game. Now that those two guys are back healthy, who would you rather have, Adam Jones and Julius Davis or Eli Gilman and Stevie Rocker?
I would rather have Eli Gilman and Stevie Rocker.
Because of the headliner.
Yeah. So in order, these four running backs, it goes Gilman, Jones, Davis, and then Rocker.
Right.
But Eli Gilman is the best running back in the Big Sky Conference. He might be the best running back in the country. Mm-hmm. And Jones and Davis, for as good, I mean, they're All-American level running backs. They also have a significant luxury of running behind the line that they run behind. And so
that was one of the great offseason questions we got when I was soliciting from listeners and engagement people. They said, how many yards would Eli Gilman run for if he played behind Montana State's offensive line, especially last year's Montana State's offensive line?
Yeah, I mean, the answer is a lot. I mean, he's running for a lot as it is.
That's right.
But I do think, I think that is, I mean, it's a package deal. So if you're asking me just in a vacuum, we're talking about this apples to apples. So everything else is the same. Which pair would you rather have? I'll take Gilman and Rocker. And Rocker, by the way, being fourth on that list, that's no crime.
No, totally,
I mean, I mean, he's a really good running back in his own right. He's a great change of pace guy, and he contributes. He's not just Eli needs a rest. I guess it's you. He's coming in with the expectation you are going to play ball. You're going to win out there, and he does. So I mean, I really like Rocker. So I'll take that pair.
Yeah, Rocker is very good. It's just that there's so many great running backs. I mean, it's the position where there's the most great players probably in football. That's why there's such a non-premium on them on the top level of football, and like that's why it's so interesting to have two of the best guys in the conference on the same team in Adam Jones and Julius Davis. I think Rocker's up there, like he's probably a top 10 back in the league, but I think Sac State's got a couple dynamite backs. I think that actually Idaho State, I think the Brooks kid is a good back. I thought Art Williams for Idaho was one of the better guys I've seen in the league, but then he got hurt. So it's just like it's a competitive position. It's hard to be one of the best in the league at that spot. Okay, back to then the Griz. We'll get to this Griz Sac State game. How much do you think the defensive inconsistencies this year have been colored by two specific factors? 11 new starters on defense, but also almost endless rotations of these guys. Because that's what I saw against Sacred Heart was they got 3 stops because they had the headliners in, and then they just mixed and matched pairs and groups and all these different. It's just kind of hard to get on the same page. It seems like when you're rotating like
we
that.
said going into that game, there's a good chance this is what happens against Sacred Heart, right? And I thought that they would try and do a little more of, they get a 22-0 lead.
Mm-hmm.
And I think the thing that would be frustrating for a Griz fan is that, you just didn't blow them away. I will say, for Sacred Heart, they are better than, we're kind of hand-waving at them. They're not a bad football team.
Oh, no, they're not the worst team the Griz have played. Indiana State's worse by a lot.
By a lot. By a whole lot.
Yeah.
And so, even when Montana scored 3 touchdowns.
Here's a hot take.
Oh, boy.
Sacred Heart's better than Idaho.
Okay. Well, I'm not going to argue.
But Idaho's lost 4 in a row, dude. They're 2-5.
But I guess what I'm saying is, it wasn't just hot knife through butter even when Montana took a 3-score lead, to open things up. That said, they're clearly the better team, and you need to just go, stamp that, and they did not. But I thought they might really try and open it up and then kind of rotate in the next groups.
Sure.
But that's not how they did it. They kind of blended them.
Yes.
And, yeah, man, when you talk about the consummate team game and doing your 111th, right? It matters who you're out there with, not just from how good a player they are, but communication and knowing, hey, I'm doing this, so you're doing that, and all those sorts of things. And it felt like it just kind of got a little discombobulated in there. And I think not unintentionally in a certain way.
Sure.
Right? Where we want to get these players playing time and see what they do together and have teach tape going forward and all of that. So I think, all of that plays into it.
Here at Five Valleys Restoration, your view is our view. And what a beautiful view it is. We are proud to be locally owned, locally operated. We love our community here in Missoula and also the full 5 valleys that we do service. We give back to the community, we service our community. Our kids go to school here, we live here, we play here, and we love it.
Sarah, what up, E?
What's going on? Man, those are some nice medals.
Yeah, man, these are hard to come by.
Yeah, well, I've got 2 of them.
Well, that's nothing like going to March Madness, though.
We did go to a national championship.
Okay, guys, whatever. Let's just get on the Montana party bus and head over to Press Box for lunch.
Yeah.
Nuanez now and Skyline Sports, covering Montana athletics and the Big Sky Conference better than anybody. The Montana Party Bus and the Press Box are also proud supporters of Montana athletes.
Hey, cheers to you guys, man. Cheers to Montana. Cheers to chasing more champions.
Big Sky Breakdown, probably presented by, we have 2 friends, actually, we're going to mention right here because they are doing a collaborative event Friday night. Speaking of the Griz playing at Sacramento State, our good friends at DraftWorks are going to be at the Press Box for a Up With Montana Lager event. So Up With is the beer that DraftWorks has specifically brewed to help empower and help fund the NIL collective at Montana. So basically, you drink a beer, you support an athlete. That's how it works. Well, they're going to be down there passing out some swag and educating people on NIL. You'll be able to get Up With right there on tap, and you can watch the Sac State game too. So head on down to the Press Box Friday night if you want something to do. Up With will be down there on behalf of DraftWorks, and they'll be showing this game. Of course, it is the official Griz headquarters of Grizzly Athletics after all, and we might be down there too. We'll see. We'll see what our wives allow us to do, but maybe run into Tootell Nuanez down there at the Press Box as well.
If DraftWorks is selling beers that's going to contribute to the NIL at the Press Box during Griz football games, I think that we will have enough money to get a Heisman Trophy winner in here. You know what I mean? That's what it seems like to me. Like we should be able to pass a pretty decent hat on that deal. You know?
No doubt. Okay. So, first of all, is Dr. Luke Wood the worst smack talker you've ever heard?
Well, no, he isn't, but he is not good.
What do you make of all of this craziness and bluster, etc.?
I'm very surprised at it, quite honestly. Maybe it's just because I don't know enough. You know this.
Yeah.
Nobody else knows this, but I'm just going to recount it for the sake of the group here. I saw the clip of the Montana Pandas and all of that.
Yeah.
And you know this is true because we spoke about this. Okay, I did not know who that was. 1,000%. I thought it was like the color guy from the radio call or whatever for Sacramento State. Right. You and I have been doing this a long time. We've been around everywhere. There are some some clowns in the sports media at the Big Sky Conference level over the course of time, and some people who think they're pretty funny and just aren't that funny, and who want to step up for their team and do whatever, and you're like, who even are you, man? Like, what are we doing?
Totally.
Okay, so
you thought it was just like
I just thought it was
the
this
in-house radio guy
absolutely
who like played baseball for 2 years at Sac State 7 years ago.
It wasn't until the following day that I found out. No, this is the president of the university, and I thought, oh man, that is not good. So we are in a state here where not acting presidential as a president is sort of an ongoing theme. And that to me it's just so, it should just be beneath you in that position. And you want to take up for your team. You want to say, we're excited. It's great. We're going to play. We expect to win. Like, say whatever you want to say. But like, really like 1 out of 10 smack talk towards another team as some sort of and like not supporting your guys, like actually coming at an opponent from that chair is bonkers to me, and I do not understand it. And I mean, I just cannot imagine Seth Bodner,
or Waded Cruzado
ever,
like it's
ever
crazy, right?
Like you would just. And so it's like, what? I guess my question is like, what's the motivation? Like, what are you trying to do? What do you think is going to happen?
You're rage baiting and trying to get people to pay attention to it.
I just think
you're trying to dominate the news cycle when North Dakota State plays South Dakota State. Guess who won? Who's talking about that game on an FCS national level?
Yeah.
Everybody's talking about the Montana Pandas.
Yeah, I mean, if you want,
but it is silly.
Ears and eyeballs and whatever, strictly for that reason, with no like. I mean, all this whole thing of like any exposure or any coverage is good exposure and coverage to me is just foolishness.
Right.
There's good and bad, and you're just bringing all kinds of bad on your school and on your place, and particularly if you go out and get embarrassed on Friday.
Totally.
Which is a much higher likelihood than it was 3 days ago.
Right.
So, I mean, one thing I would say about Coach Houck is if there is a coach who will take this very, very personally and also understand how to translate this into his team's performance, it's him. And I think he's got every idea to do exactly that on Friday night.
What made Bobby Houck more mad? Being called the Pandas? Being told that they haven't played anybody and their schedule is trash? Or being called the JV?
The JV.
Definitely the JV. Yeah. He brought that up unsolicited. He's like, we are very well aware this guy called us the JV.
First of all, the Montana Pandas, I mean, is that really a shot? I mean, I just don't think it's just not funny.
Certainly Grizzlies are more ferocious, but like that's not like that demeaning to say it's a panda. Like
okay. I mean, it's just that just seemed absurd. The JV thing, though, especially when it's from the institution that is going to the FBS and thinks that they've allegedly
thinks they're going to the FBS,
and is doing this. I just think that I do not understand the motivation for doing something like this, and I also think that you put your coach and your team in a very, very precarious spot, deciding to go out there and write that check. So we'll find out Friday night.
Join Town Pump's Pump It Up Rewards Plus program and never pay full price for fuel again.
Save 5 cents on every gallon every day at any Town Pump across Montana.
Plus, earn and redeem points on your favorite in-store items to get free stuff with our clubs.
Stop in and pick up a rewards card. Download the Pump It Up Rewards Plus app today.
Or visit townpump.com/rewards to register and start saving.
Town Pump. Right down the road. Pump it up. Oh, yeah.
Another day, flavorless forage.
What in the heck is this magic? It smells intriguing. Could this be the answer to my lifelong struggle against bland wilderness cuisine? Okay, deep breaths. Don't get your hopes up, big guy.
Finally, a meal fit for a famished Bigfoot. Thank you, Alpine Touch. My Rocky Mountain adventures just got a whole lot tastier.
one hand, I think that, you shouldn't really need motivation to get up for a nationally televised game against a team that, quite honestly, has been a total thorn in your side if you're Bobby Hauck and the Griz. I mean, the Griz have not won in Sacramento since Bobby Hauck's been back at Montana. And the loss in Sacramento in 2019, when Dalton Snead got hurt, that impacted the trajectory of their season.
Yeah.
And then in 2022, when Lucas Johnson got earholed, and they had the controversial ending where he gets, the guy gets thrown out of the game for targeting, but Lucas Johnson gets knocked out of the game, so you don't have your quarterback anymore. Then you had the Jared Gibson catch on the sideline that was clearly out, but he gets called in. All of those things add fuel to the fire. I just don't know if you need any more motivation if you are these guys. But then on the other hand, it's like, here's the thing, man. You could say Bobby Hauck is Darth Vader of the Big Sky Conference, and it's the Death Star and the Evil Empire and all this sort of stuff. But Bobby Hauck is very fraternal and, in fact, very well liked amongst his peers. He's the president of the American Football Coaches Association. This is an elected position, so that is very clear that he has a lot of reverence among his peers. If you watch it with the Big Sky Kickoff and stuff, he's glad-handing everybody. He's sitting next to Brent Vigen playing some cards, saying what's up to Leon Costello. There is none of this bad blood that people think about. Sac State's leaving the league. Their coaching staff, by and large, has never even been in the league. These guys have never really been in the league. They got 66 new players. There are a bunch of transfers. All of these things play into Bobby Hauck saying, no, this is when the gloves come off. This is when we don't rotate on defense. This is when we run every trick play in the book. This is when I show you every punt block that you have never seen before and never will see again. And I just think all those things point towards Montana just absolutely ramshackling Sacramento State. Maybe the talent for Sac State pulls them through, but man, I personally think that Sacramento State's in for a very rude awakening on Friday night, regardless of what you think the weaknesses of the Griz have been through this first 7 games of the year.
The comment about haven't played anybody is somewhat true. Like, who's the best team the Grizzlies have played? Maybe North Dakota?
North Dakota, they're number 9 in the country this week. But here's where Luke Wood doubled down, though. He went to the Sac B, and they asked him, tell me about Montana's trash schedule. And he says, we played South Dakota State in the opener. They played a D2. Great, that's fair. They played South Dakota State. Montana played Central Washington. But then Luke Wood said they played a non-scholarship FCS in week 2. No, they did not. They played the second-best team in the Missouri Valley, or I guess the third-best team, whatever. They played a top 10 team in Missoula, and they beat them.
And also the teams that you played that were any good, and one of the teams that wasn't very good, Sacramento State, did lose to.
Indeed. Like, if Luke Wood wants to talk smack, you can't lose to Nevada, man. Nevada's the last-place team in the Mountain West.
They lost to Cal Poly.
They lost to Cal Poly, who lost to Montana by 3 scores.
So here's what I think on Friday. If, with 3 minutes to go in the fourth quarter, it's Montana 50 and Sacramento State nothing.
Right.
Keali'i Ah Yat will be throwing the football to Michael Wortham.
Right,
There's no question.
Like they're gonna run the Philly special up 49-7.
They'll go for it on 4th down. They will do absolutely everything because that is like. I'd also like to say this. You know that I don't sports gamble.
Yeah.
I did this week.
You put a wager in.
This is really frustrating me.
Okay.
There's money line bets. Okay.
Yes.
This is where you pick winners and you get a return based on who's favored. If you pick the favorite, you get less of a return. If you pick the underdog, you get more of a return.
Yep.
Then there is a point spread.
Correct.
Which is supposed to create even odds both sides while giving you a reduced number of points.
Sure.
Pretty straightforward. You can't do both.
Right.
You can't tell me the point spread is 3.5 points and then have double the odds against Montana at that number. If the number needs to move, then move it.
Right.
But don't tell me we're minus 143 over here on the favorite and plus 110 on the point spread.
Right.
That's insane.
Right. It's insane.
So that bothers me clearly.
Yeah.
But I think that I think that Coach Hauck and the Montana Grizzly football team is going to win by an embarrassing number of points on Friday night. That's what I think is going to happen.
Very good.
Okay.
Big Sky Breakdown, Ryan Tootell. We'll get back at it next week, but thanks for swinging by, man.
My pleasure.